Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of Rotary Stratford's meeting on how Africa became polio-free. We have a wonderful and distinguished speaker with us today. But before we start, as always, let us start with the grace, and grace will be read by President-elect Susan Lancaster.
With our friends beside us and no person beneath us, with the bonds of Rotary between us and our worries behind us, with our goals before us and no task beyond us, with a thirst for knowledge and a dream of a peaceful world, we are thankful according to our individual beliefs for our Rotary friends and the fellowship we are about to share.
Thank you, President-elect Susan. I now pass it on to President Bose Agbesanwa.
Thank you, Imanchu, and good evening, everyone from Nigeria. I say good evening to you all. And a big thank you for joining our second virtual Black History Month event. Our first event was sickle cell awareness, which ties so well with our Polio Day event. Did you know polio could be the second human disease to be ever eradicated? Thanks to Rotary and its partners for reducing polio cases by 99.9% since 1988. On August 25th, 2020, Africa has been declared polio-free, while Nigeria, where I am at the moment, and my home country, was the last polio endemic country in Africa and was officially certified polio-free as well, after marking 3 consecutive years since the last case of wild polio had been identified. So this evening, as we celebrate a wild polio-free Africa, and as a Nigerian, I say a big thank you to Rotary and goodbye to polio in Africa. But this evening, we really want to know how polio was actually eradicated in Africa, which can help us with all the other diseases and also with the sickle cell that we are trying to create awareness in our club as well. So I would hand over to DG Francis, who is also a Nigerian as well. So we are both saying thank you to Rotary for eradicating polio in our home country. So DG Francis, over to you to introduce the speaker of this evening.
Oh, thank you, President Bose. As usual, it's a pleasure to be here. And I know many people are tuned into this meeting. It's unfortunate I wouldn't last the length of the meeting because I've got another important meeting which I'll be attending. But it gives me great pleasure to introduce Geeta. Geeta is a Rotarian from District 9200, comprising Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Eritrea. South Sudan has also recently joined the region. Geeta is a major donor, and she is passionate about serving her community. Her hard work has seen her rise up the ranks of being elected to serve as district's first ever woman governor for the Rotary year 2012-13. Geeta joined Rotary in 1997, and her roles have included being a Rotary coordinator, being chair of the Health Major Gifts Initiative, and of course, the Joint Committee on Partnerships. She's also a member of Major Gifts Initiative Oversight Team and the Rotary Institute Host Organizing Committee. Geeta has equally been an RI training leader and lead facilitator at the Regional Leaders Training Institute. Geeta has also been RI president representative. She also served as her district's coordinator for the Kick Polio Out of Africa campaign. And it's only apt that we have invited her to speak here tonight. Her sobriquet is Nalongo. If you don't know what that means, it means mother of the twins among Ugandans. And she is known as Mama Rotary amongst Kenyan Rotarians. So Geeta is very popular and has cultivated a special place in the district's history. But away from her work and service, it may interest you to know that she is a coffee connoisseur, a chocolate lover, and of course, a doting mother. But today we want to hear from her about how Africa kicked polio out and became free from this disease. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me and welcome past District Governor Geeta Manek and a trustee of the Rotary Foundation. Geeta, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, District Governor Francis. That was a very generous introduction, and I'm really touched by your tone and your spirit. Thank you so much. President Bose, your amazing team, very interesting people, district leaders present, friends and family of Rotary, good evening. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you all and allowing me to share my thoughts and experiences. But as a Kenyan, I must confess straight away that there are more Nigerians on this platform this evening, and they know much more about eradicating the wild polio virus out of Africa than I do. But I'm going to give it my best shot. Foremost, I would like to thank Charter President Himanshu Jain, who reached out to me and invited me. And also I would like to thank Rotarian Nayan Patel, who introduced me to your Charter President Jain. So Nayan Bhai and I have worked together on many different initiatives, and I thank you all, Nayan Bhai, for connecting me. Rotary really does connect, so thank you. I'd also like to congratulate your amazing club. I've heard a lot of wonderful things about your club, but only after visiting your club website did I realize the extent of your activities. It was great to see the full spectrum of all that you do, the diversity of your members, the impactful projects that you are involved in. So please take a moment and pat yourselves on the back and say, well done, because you really appear to me from this distance that your past leaders and current leaders are doing an amazing job to make your club so strong, so vibrant, so effective, and I'm sure very efficient. So I'm really truly humbled to be with you, this distinguished group of people this evening. Since the 24th of this month was World Polio Day, of course, I was asked to speak about polio-free Africa. That really gives me so much pleasure because, as you heard, we've been fighting this disease for a long, long time. At the onset, again, let me, confess that I'm no expert, but having been involved in the fight in different ways, I can only share my perspective. So I will swiftly share with you that the journey was a huge roller coaster. It was not an easy one for anyone, especially since you all know that on a daily basis, our continent has a myriad of challenges, from maternal and child health and mortality to the lack of clean water. We have our share of the famine, and we have our share. The different parts of the continent have different issues. We have political violence. So to keep the fight to end polio at the forefront and on the main agenda of every conversation in itself is a challenge. Friends, I'd like to share with you a little bit of history to give you context of how we got to the fight to end polio in Africa. When you have a moment, take a look at some of the pictures of perhaps even the Egyptian civilization. You will notice invariably in many pictures that you see a person with a deformed limb. So what I'm trying to say is that this disease has been with us since time immemorial. In many cultures, someone affected by polio would have been referred to as having been cursed by the gods, and things along those lines. But moving on, in the early part of the 20th century, the research on polio was really getting very, very effective, mainly because more than 350,000 people were affected by the polio virus. They were being paralyzed on an annual basis. Imagine 350,000 a year. In 1950, Dr. Jonas Salk developed an injectable vaccine. But one had to take 4 shots of this to be immunized. It was a start, but it was very cumbersome. It was quite tedious to make sure that you don't miss a shot. You have to take it in certain time and all that. So it was quite difficult. But in the next few years, Dr. Albert Sabin improved the vaccine, which is still in use today. It's easier to administer. You can see on the screen that in 1985, the red color was the area that was all endemic with polio. And today in 2020, you see the little dot on the map of the world. That's where we are. So we've really made immense progress. It was successful research and efficient use of vaccine that really gave us a break. In 1980s, the vaccine was developed, although in 1960, Dr. Sabin appealed to many lobby groups in America, to carry out mass immunization campaigns. But it wasn't happening as fast as he would like. He lobbied to the groups and said that, in order to get the polio virus out, we need to have mass immunization campaigns. There was a lot of pushback. There was an amazing amount of reluctance on the part of the authorities. There was just so much hesitation, and it wasn't as if they were doubting the effectiveness or the efficacy of the virus. It was just they thought, how, on earth can you immunize every child? But it so happened in 1980, Brazil had a big outbreak of the polio virus. And Dr. Sabin offered his help to the government of Brazil. They invited him. They took his advice. He said to them that they must immunize mass populations. Some of you may remember receiving a sugar cube. I know I did. Sugar cube with the polio vaccine in it. And of course, the children were attracted. They did not complain. They went for this, without any hesitation. This was really exciting for the kids and, of course, the mothers. By 1980, the Western Hemisphere had actually completely stopped the transmission of the polio virus. Remember, this is the same time as the governments were having a dilemma trying to eradicate smallpox. So, where do you have your priorities? Where do you fight? Where do you put your resources? Thankfully, smallpox being the first disease that was eradicated by mankind, and we hope that polio virus will be the second one. But after smallpox was eradicated, did we manage to get any attention whatsoever from the real actors, policymakers in the world? One of the organizations that was at the forefront was what we hear today, the National Institute for Health, where, you must have heard the name Anthony Fauci, he's the leader. Dr. Sabin was part of that team, but at the same time, our Rotary leader was John Sever. John Sever was a member of Rotary, and he understood from a medical perspective, that this can be done. We can get rid of polio. He had the audacity and the ambition that if we start immunizing, mass immunizations by 2005, we will give the world the gift of a polio-free world. So this fight started long time ago, but challenges in policy and government participation, health experts, there was a huge component that had to be worked out. It wasn't happening fast enough. there was immense reluctance. There was a lot of reservations from our potential partners. And without them, this task was not seemingly possible. Collaboration and partnerships with state actors was really something that we have to have on board. So Rotary took the initiative to reach out to UNICEF and USAID, WHO, and all those big agencies that we are partners with at the moment. It was RI's decision to really go full out, to place entire strength to the wider audience of the world stage to persuade governments to take polio seriously. Rotary's involvement in every country was critical in constantly maintaining political commitment at the highest level. So in 1990, RI President Louis GI met with Nelson Mandela. This was as high as one could get. It did not take long to convince President Mandela that this debilitating disease was completely preventable. There was proof it had been eradicated in the Western Hemisphere, and it could be done in Africa. So that was to give you an idea that in 1998, a target of $120 million was set aside to fight polio. But the Rotarians were extremely generous, and we actually hit the target of, surpassed the target. We got $247 million that year. But at the same time, money alone was not the answer. The depth, the perseverance, the persistence, and the financial contributions indicated that at time that the promise to rid the world of polio was possible because there was a will, but it was not to be. Only the Western Hemisphere had successfully declared polio free. The challenges in East and Southern Hemisphere were really great. There was still insufficient buy-in from many of the governments. Many regions on our continent, were still going through political strife, war, conflict. Priorities of each country were different. Yet, Rotary leaders in Asia and Africa kept the flame burning and persisted. At this time, lots of advocacy work, systems, procedures were being agreed upon by Rotary International and our partners. A lot of visible but serious hard work, and in terms of policy and division of work was being agreed upon. The frameworks which are still in place today, these policies continue to cascade to grassroots. Rotarians locally continue to be innovative. They translated and amended the policies to suit the local environment in different countries. Rotarians of Africa could ill afford to delay the fight against polio. They were seeing that India, with its 1 billion people, was on the cusp of eradicating polio. We felt that we too could do it, but remember, India was one country, and 1 billion people, whereas Africa also had 1 billion people, but we have 54 countries with thousands of languages and hundreds of borders. But we were experiencing war, insurgencies in Central African Republic, in Congo, the genocide in Rwanda. Northern Nigeria had different issues, so the landscape was vastly different from that of India. But the support from the Global Polio Eradication Initiative and all our partners, full-time advocacy in one country after another, positive results were coming forward. This was a great incentive and hope for all the Rotary clubs and districts, wholeheartedly focused on the fundamental guidelines that were provided by the Rotary Foundation. Rotarians came up with hundreds of strategies to fundraise. We missed meals and contributed, the cost of our meals to the foundation. We all went on diet and saved our monies and lost our weight, and every kilo cost X amount of dollars or shillings. There were walkathons, there were marathons all over the continent, fundraisers, bikeathons, musical concerts. fun activities that the Rotarians thought would attract and huge contributions for the foundation, which we really did. Rotarians invited icons and influencers from well-known sport figures, actors, popular singers, who became our ambassadors. These influencers were influencing mothers, teachers, religious leaders. The government, of course, and the strategies were all customized again to the local relevance, all along adhering to the fundamental guidelines of the Rotary Foundation. Polio must end, and there was no negotiation on that message. In spite of all the strategies, the message was constant and consistent. Messages, of course, were loud and clear on any visible platform through media activations or just promoting and branding our own clothing, billboards, you name it. We never missed an opportunity. Think for a moment of the cost of bringing up a child with different abilities, the social stigma, the financial and emotional fatigue on any family. It takes a lot of hard work and tremendous toll on any family, especially in our part of the world where we have limited access to health or any social or welfare benefits. The great thing was that we were never alone. Groups of Europeans and American Rotarians were regularly traveling to different parts of Africa to participate in national immunization days. It was the collective effort of parents, teachers, and anyone who cared for, was on the journey with Africa. There was total and collective effort to really prevent what was preventable. As you can see on this strike, the advocacy leaders, President Berry with our director Yinka, and all the leaders in Nigeria, Joshua Hassan, past district governor Obafunso, and all the leaders were there to see President Buhari and to talk to him. Of course, he was our partner, but this was just, constantly keeping the message in the front line. The eventual eradication of the polio virus could never be taken for granted. It was not inevitable. It was a product of research, a lot of innovations in technology, unprecedented coordination, cooperation with extraordinary cases, sometimes even the ultimate sacrifice of loss of lives of many of our vaccinators, especially in the war-torn areas. All in the effort to reach the very last child. Though we built an infrastructure that worked really efficiently in the fight against polio, and now we're using the same infrastructure for tracking and tracing coronavirus. So this investment that you Rotarians have made in the foundation to eradicate polio is not only just working for polio, but it's working to reach so many unreached people because the infrastructure has been built with your contributions. The Gates Foundation has been our greatest supporter, matching each dollar we collect with $2 from their foundation. You may wonder how your contributions are spent. Here is a slide that captures the budget by activity. You will note that each one of those activities is vital. Your contributions to date have protected over 3 billion, B for billion. From a lifetime of braces and crutches, Rotarians have reduced the cases of polio by 99.9%, and that's a huge achievement. In just 2019 alone, 430 million kids in 40 countries were immunized because of Rotary's participation in the front line. The certification of Polio-Free Africa was a really difficult task, but it came at the most important time in 2020, when we are all experiencing the pandemic. With a huge cloud of the unknown and the many uncertainties, polio actually gave us hope. If we can overcome polio, we can overcome anything. The certification of wild polio virus gave African Rotarians millions of opportunities on social media. As you see on the slide, our own past district governor PDG Dr. Tunji Funsho. Dr. Tunji Funsho was named one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time magazine. He's a retired cardiologist, the first Rotarian to receive such a recognition. He led the fight for polio not only in Nigeria, but with his amiable and gentle demeanor. He convinced the rebels in northern Nigeria and the politicians, the lobby groups, to do the right thing. I cannot think of any other person more deserving than him, because he led by example. He gave it his all. He gave it his best. And you may ask, if polio virus is eradicated in Africa, why are we still talking about it? Well, friends, we celebrated this achievement, but with a lot of caution. For polio may have left our shores, but it still remains a big threat. The virus knows no borders. It does not discriminate. Till every child is reached in Afghanistan and Pakistan, our fight has to continue. The virus is only a plane ride away from any country. It was only yesterday that I saw on CNN an item where it featured an article by Liana Falk, who wrote, "Health experts fear an outbreak of polio virus in the Americas during COVID-19 pandemic due to the delay in vaccinations and surveillance, according to the Pan-American Health Organization." So if the Americans meaning North and South America, are both really worried that this endemic may reach their shores, you can imagine with all the facilities and infrastructure they have, if we don't get rid of it, the whole world is at risk again. So friends, you may wonder, what can I do? What can my club do? What can my district do? Well, our collective call to action is that we cannot afford to get complacent. It is not only the problem of Pakistan and Afghanistan. Till we rid this disease from the face of this earth, it still remains our problem. Otherwise, this deadly virus will return with vengeance. It is now even more important to do our part to protect and sustain the polio elimination activities in all our countries. You know, a win against polio is a win for global health. Club and district leaders, friends and family, I urge you to do whatever you can in terms of advocacy, creating awareness. It can be fundraising, it can be activities in the field, whatever it is. I urge you, do whatever you can, because no contribution is too small. Every dollar has a multiplier effect, and it is matched. You know, every dollar that you spend goes one step closer to keeping our promise to the children of this world. Let this be our legacy. Let's together give this world the gift we deserve for our children. A polio-free world for the next generation. Let this be your legacy. We can, we must, and we will do this for the rest of the world. Thank you, my friends and family of Rotary at the Rotary Club of Stratford in England. So those are the things we talk about, and those are the things we continue to do in order to fight this disease. And like I said, the job is not done till it's done. Thank you, President Bose and friends, for inviting me, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But I have a friend on this call, and I think his name is PDG Akebon from Nigeria, from the Rotary Club of Calabar, who might be more experienced than me to answer, but thank you so much.
Thank you, PDG Geeta. Fellows, the floor is now open for questions. You can unmute yourself and ask any questions.
Geeta Ben.
I have a question for
Karibu sana. Asante sana.
Asante.
Asante sana.
Asante,
Asante sana.
asante.
So for for those who are here who've not understood what I've just said, I've just extended a warm welcome to our trustee Geeta Manek in Swahili. And I also happen to be from Kenya. So, and Asante Sana is a big thank you. So, Trustee Geeta, tell us what is it that is actually inspiring Rotarians to continue this particular fight to make the world polio free? There are numerous other challenges, but what is it that's so special, do you think, that keeps on inspiring Rotarians to continue with the fight?
First of all, this is completely preventable. Nobody should be afflicted by polio. Other challenges we don't have a handle over all the time. There's so many priorities, you're very right. But the quickest win is the one, the lowest hanging fruit. And if something can be avoided a lifetime in crutches and braces by simply giving 2 drops, which cost less than $1, why wouldn't we want to do it? It is at the forefront because it's so doable. It wasn't doable because we didn't know about it, but up to the 80s, from the 60s to the 80s, a lot of research was done. And in 88, the whole of the Western Hemisphere was polio free. But we have to keep this on. This exercise must continue till the last child is reached. And we have spent a lot of time and money, and we have, if you can think of what 350,000 people look like, the number of people in braces and crutches and wheelchairs. We can avoid that. The cost of that is far more than the $1 that costs to keep this thing away. So why wouldn't we do it? I hope that's satisfied.
Absolutely. I think you were spot on. Absolutely. And I'm sure fellow Rotarians will have some additional questions to ask. So over to you, Himansu, and the rest of the Rotarians.
Thank you. Thank you. Kiran Patel, Rotarian Kiran Patel, our international chair, has a question.
Hello, madam.
Hi.
What's the current rate of infection affecting Afghanistan and Pakistan?
Oh, I wish I knew the exact figures, but we're close to 97 cases. They're hovering around 100 cases between Pakistan and Afghanistan. I must confess, I don't know the exact number. But, from 350,000, if you remember the map I showed you, 3/4 of the globe was endemic. And now we are just that little speck of a dot in north of India, in Pakistan and Afghanistan. So we are there. And there's a lot of hope that by the end of 2021, we are hoping that we can say Pakistan is also polio free. It's again ambitious, but it is so doable because what has happened in Pakistan, we have the buy-in. Our President Mark Maloney was in Pakistan and met with the leaders there and met the Prime Minister of Pakistan. And he had brought in the general of the army, who is really very keen on saying that, look, if need be, my soldiers will go out to all the hard to reach areas, but we will get the job done. And that's what we need. We need the political will. So 100 cases is so doable, but at the same time, we must continue immunizing all the other children, not just, the few cases that we hear about from time to time.
Yeah, thanks very much for your answer, madam.
Immediate past President Suraya has a question. And Suraya, you're on mute.
Hello, Geeta. Nice to meet you. Delighted with your presentation. As you say, there are very small numbers that are, having the polio. And as Rotarians, we can do this. So I think we have to pursue fundraising and, supporting end polio with Bill and Melinda Gates. I think the job can be done in the year or two.
Right. You're very right, Suraya. If you really think about just buying a can of Coke or a packet of crisps in the UK, I believe sitting here in Kenya, I don't know the prices, but it would cost you probably £1 sterling.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
And of course,
so £1 sterling is equivalent to approximately $2, give or take a few cents here or there. That can save a life of a child in a wheelchair. I mean, why wouldn't we want to do that? £1. That's not even the cost of a lunch. So yes, it is doable. We will do it. And I hope that we can do it in our lifetime. I am pretty sure that we will.
Yeah, it will also
the bus hits me tomorrow morning.
it will give the children a dignity and respect.
Absolutely.
that they can earn a job and earn a position, get educated, and have friends to be peers with them.
Yeah.
I think it's so nice. I think we have to do this.
Yes. I was on a call the other day with a friend, and we were talking Rotary, and a mother was asked, now I know that you're a lady and you know what it takes to be a mother, but to be a mother of a child with extra needs or special needs is really, really taxing. But the mother was asked, what is your ambition for your child? And ordinary mothers would say, I want my child to be a doctor, a lawyer, want him to be an engineer. This mother said, I want my child just to stand up on his own.
Yes.
I want my child to go to the bathroom by himself. And the other thing she said was that I want my child to die before me because I don't know who will look after my child after I'm gone. Can you imagine a mother having to say that? So it is really, really heart-wrenching to hear stories of mothers who have to deal with children with extra needs.
Very, very, very true. I'm a teacher of special needs in education, so I know how difficult.
So you know better than
I know how difficult it can be for parents and for the child and the family. So it's a far-reaching effect rather than just the immediate child. Yeah. I think as Rotarians, we have to really pursue this and not give up. We have to do 101% in supporting this and eradicating polio.
Absolutely, yeah.
We have a question from Tunde. He wants Geeta-ji, you to confirm if Nigeria is 100% polio free.
I can confirm that Nigeria is 100% wild polio virus free. Yes. I don't have to do it. The WHO and all the agencies who handle this have done it. And we've got a certificate, and yes, we're thrilled about it. But we are thrilled in good measure because we want to make sure that Afghanistan and Pakistan are also, polio free. And as long as they are still endemic, we are all at a great risk.
Imaj, you have a question for her as well.
Sure.
Oh, madam, I come from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Jambo.
So, welcome. Jambo, habari gani mzuri?
Mzuri kabisa.
Right. I want to find out what's the situation about polio in East Africa, including Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. Are there any cases or?
No, we don't have any cases. The last case on our within East Africa was in 2014.
Okay.
And in 2014, we had it was an imported case. It was community traveling from Somalia. There were nomadic people, and obviously they were not exposed to the immunizations, and they brought it into the country, and TRF came in with a ton of bricks and lots of money, and the Ministry of Health, everybody was involved, and it was really put down straight away.
Yeah, thanks for your answer.
Tanzania, I don't think that sorry, I don't think Tanzania has recorded a case in the last decade, and Uganda for sure they haven't. But one of the slides I showed you was a picture taken just last weekend on Saturday from Uganda, and they continue the surveillance, advocacy, and immunizations. So we all have to do that. Yeah.
Is there an
East
immunization
Africa
program in
is-
Tanzania? Is there immunization program?
Yes. We do. Yes, all
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, okay. Is it through Rotary or privately?
Yes, it's actually, 90% of the funding comes through Rotary. The procurement is done through WHO and then UNICEF, different areas, different agencies have different roles in this partnership. But a lot of funding, majority of the funding is through Rotary, but Rotary then gives the collective collection between Gates Foundation and Rotary Foundation. We give it to WHO, and they, together with the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, decide as to where to, put the money. And it goes at the moment mostly going to Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for your answer. I would just want to add one thing, is that before 1987, when my father was a Rotary for 20, Rotary of Dar es Salaam, there was no case. We never heard about polio. Well, I was a young man, about 18 years studying, and there was nothing called polio at all. So it's great that,
do you remember taking the sugar cube when you were young?
Yes, I do.
Yes, so that's
Yes,
why you didn't have it, because some of the countries were very, very efficient and effective in making sure that all the kids were immunized.
Thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam, for your answer.
Hi, Geeta.
Hello.
Hi, Geeta. I just want to find out some information. The information I am querying about is we use the polio drops.
Yes.
And we are aware that when the children pass out the polio drops, the people cleaning them are at risk of developing polio themselves. I would have advocated that the injectable is safer, especially
No, like I said, I have limited knowledge, but let me tell you that the polio virus, once it is affected by, it is secreted, let's say, through the stool. Okay,
yes.
So if the cleaners are cleaning, unless they ingest it, take it through the mouth, and then it settles in the gut, then only they would be affected. So it is not likely that they would get it through that. But there is a lot of misinformation about it. The polio virus does not affect you unless you ingest it. That's how I've understood it. But if we have a medical expert, or if we have Akabon who can verify that, I would appreciate that clarification also. But I have never heard of that.
Yeah, but it is the reason why in the UK we have moved on to injectables. And another thing is that it needs to be well known in a lot of the countries that there is a risk of being infected by the polio virus from the stool of the children or whoever that receives the vaccine. Because I know that it is not well publicized, but I think it is important that this risk should be made aware to people.
So now that you have told me about it, I will talk to an expert at the foundation, because I would also be very curious to know if this is how it's passed on. If it is
it is not the only way. Yeah, it is not the only way, but the vaccination definitely has a risk. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know, and I'll find out. And confirm for myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think those are all the questions that were there. Are there any more questions, fellows?
Himanshu Basu, could I just make a comment? I'm sorry, very embarrassed that I'm a doctor, but I'm not an expert. So may I just first of all say it's wonderful to hear Geeta. She spoke with compassion, with conviction, and really, I'm thrilled, and I'm sure as you are. My understanding is that giving an injection is more effective for that particular person you're giving. Oral polio vaccine, as Geeta correctly stated, is excreted in the excreta. It goes into the sewage, and as you must know, the WHO tests for sewage. So when not only is there a absence of polio, but the sewage must not contain the virus. That's only when the WHO recognizes the thing. So to just imagine the logistics of having to give injection 3 or 4 to these 3 billion children, 2.5 billion children. Is that achievable? That is the reason Sabin vaccine, which is just as effective, is used all over the world. But could I just finish by saying, it's absolutely wonderful, fellow Rotarians. It's one situation where the whole Rotary world is united. It's not a problem for Pakistan or Afghanistan. It's a problem for every global citizen. And I can't imagine that feeling of togetherness will ever go away, least of all in the current pandemic with COVID-19. We are all in it together. We are global citizens. Yeah. So thank you, Geeta, for your message. But correct my mistake if I have made any misrepresentation. Speak to your experts. Thank you.
Thank you, PDG Dr. Himanshu Basu, for that comment. I have a question, Geeta ji. So we've come so close, and we're probably very close to finishing the job now, probably in the next few years. But what next? I mean, all of this hard work that has been put in for the last 35 years, what can we do next with all of this that's there for us to leverage?
So yes, you're right. We've invested heavily into the fight against polio. You know, this fight against polio is not going to be over even next year or the following year. It'll take us a good 6 or 7 more years after the last case. So the fight is not over. And, you know, because Dr. Himanshu Basu said that, you know, he's happy to see us all working together. I'm also very happy that we have one global project that we are all working together. And the fact that we all are focused on this one disease, that is our strength. If we are to go into any other area, we will lose the momentum. So officially, we should concentrate on the fight against polio. What next? Not even what next. Simultaneously, we have our 7 areas of focus that we could work on if that's where our passion takes us. But whatever we do, we're never going to be at peace till we prevent the preventable. So what next could be any of our areas of focus. We don't know how long Mr. COVID is going to be with us. That could be the next. But at the moment, our forefront, our global project has got to be to keep our promise to the children of the world and make sure we get rid of that. So yes, there are so many areas that the world needs help in, our communities. But till we don't finish the job, nobody will ever trust us to take on anything else. So let's just get this job done.
Thank you for that. So looking at time as well, can I now invite our District Rotary Foundation Chair, Robert Morris, to offer a vote of thanks to our wonderful speaker. And at the same time, can I also make a plug to, since we have to keep going and finish the job, you saw that there is a shortfall. So please donate to the End Polio Now Fund. There are some details. There is one of the ways on your screen at the moment. And please help in this effort. So over to you, Robert.
Thank you very much, Himanshu, and District Governor and Fellows. We've been, excuse me, that was good timing, wasn't it? And that's a spam phone call as well, even worse. Good evening, District Governor, Fellows. We were honoured this evening by having Geeta, a trustee from the Rotary Foundation, come to speak to us in this virtual world. We are very honoured to be able to get that sort of person to join us. I found it interesting to hear a bit of the background to the fight to eradicate polio, particularly in Africa. As has been mentioned, several of the people on the call tonight have come from there. I have visited, I've also worked there briefly, so I do understand a little bit of the background, but so much I didn't, and thank you for that. I got a bit more. The fact that you were back in 1990, going to Nelson Mandela and actually saying to him, using his influence to get other countries and other leaders to take part in this vital campaign was a fascinating bit of story I didn't know about. But there have been a lot of challenges, a lot of policies have been needed, and a lot of issues across Africa as a continent. But Rotary has persisted, and I thank you for hearing all about that. I'll finish by saying I think the consistent messages that have been used and the infrastructure that's been set up and the procedures that have been set up have been fundamental to the success of the polio campaign. But as Geeta said tonight, the fight against COVID-19, and I'm sure in due course other issues, can benefit from the procedures and the linkages that we have through the infrastructure that's now in place. So the polio campaign has a lot of knock-on benefits. The polio plus, in my mind, the plus is the future benefits of that infrastructure. So
and it also worked very well in detecting Ebola and tracking and tracing even during Ebola time and other diseases. It has really helped. So I think this infrastructure is here to stay for the future.
Yes, I've heard that, and I say thank you for that. That was a useful reminder to everybody the significance of what we've done, not just with polio. But I say maybe this is a challenge to risk unmuting everybody and to thank Geeta in the usual way for a wonderful talk this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you very much. We'll stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.